Coming up, the survivor from Saturday Night Live, Victoria Jackson, looks back at her battle against breast cancer. Then, the place helping our soldiers recover from the hidden wounds of war.
We want to remind them that there is adventure out there.
And a 20-year-old promise is fulfilled.
It was like the Holy Spirit is just right there.
On today's 700 Club.
Hello and welcome to the 700 Club. The Prime Minister of Israel says his country has no better friend than Christians. He made that statement as he spoke to more than 100 Christian journalists from all around the world. He also talked about the persecution of Christians in the Middle East. Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu began by emphasizing the importance of Christian support for Israel.
Israel has no better friends, I mean that, no better friends in the world than the Christian communities around the world. And Israel is the one country in a vast region where Christians not only survive, they thrive.
He also castigated Iran for persecuting and torturing Christians and challenged the Christian media to put a spotlight on their plight.
Dedicate this week to highlighting the plight of the countless Christians suffering under Iran. Profile the brave Christian leaders jailed for practicing their faith. Sit with the families of the school teachers jailed for years merely for converting to Christianity. Call out the lies of President Rouhani, who promised in 2013 that all religions would, quote, feel justice in Iran, while so many Christians live there in constant terror.
This reporter asked the Prime Minister about Iran's attempt to create a Shiite Muslim arc of power in the Middle East.
They're trying to import Shiite militias that are now trying to choke the Kurds in Kirkuk. Shiite militias, Afghans, Pakistanis, under Iranian command, and they want to bring them also right next to the Golan Heights. That's what, well, you know, this is colonization of the worst kind.
CBN News also asked why Israel, with so many challenges, sends Israeli relief to the nations when disaster strikes.
And people say, well, what do you do? I mean, what is it that you get out of it? And the answer is, we're not getting out of it anything. We're fulfilling our deepest values. Israel is a light unto the nations.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
The contributions of Israel, of Israeli people to the world are beyond measure. And Gordon always says, and I think he's right, if we don't understand the history of the nation of Israel, we don't understand what's going on today. We want you to understand that. And so we want you to know you can get a hold of the DVD that's had such acclaim. It's called In Our Hands. It tells the story of Israel reclaiming the Temple Mount, of the history of their nation, and we want you to have that. So if you'd like to get a hold of it, find out how to do that for a gift of $15 or more. All you have to do is call 1-800-700-7000, or you can also get it by logging on to cbn.com. We live in interesting times. We need to understand why we stand for what we stand. Well, in other news, firefighters in California believe they finally turned a corner in fighting those massive wildfires in that state. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Terry. At least 40 people are confirmed dead from the fires, and California Governor Jerry Brown called them one of the greatest, if not the greatest tragedy that California has ever faced. But as Jenna Browder reports, with lighter winds and lower humidity, conditions are now improving.
After a week of devastating destruction and harrowing escapes.
My eyes are burning too, dude, but we still got oxygen, so we're not dead yet.
Finally, some signs of hope. Fire officials say they are starting to gain a lead on many of the 15 fires now raging across California's wine country and other parts of the state. This has become the deadliest outbreak in California's history, with dozens still missing and more than 5,000 homes and businesses destroyed. Officials are using everything they have: planes, helicopters, and over 11,000 firefighters. Fires are still burning dangerously close to many homes and vineyards, with 75,000 evacuations still in place. That number down from what was 100,000. For those who do get to return home, many find little left. Entire neighborhoods like this burned to the ground.
The house is gone. I haven't seen it. I saw my next neighbor's picture. Our whole street's gone.
Bob Boyett says he lost everything, but that's not stopping him and many others from helping. He's opened up his grocery stores to feed firefighters and first responders.
It's our job to take care of our community and do what we can, and we got all the stores open. This is my family. These are my people here.
And families and friends throughout the state are coming together as many will begin rebuilding their lives. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thanks, Jenna. Well, here in Washington, President Trump has an important lunch today with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. The president has not been shy about his frustration with McConnell and the Senate, especially when it comes to repealing and replacing Obamacare. Today, the two will be discussing how they can work together as the president needs McConnell to help pass his top priority in the Senate, tax reform. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve could soon be raising interest rates again. The rate change would reflect growth in the economy, according to Fed Chair Janet Yellen. She says the impact of the recent hurricanes will likely slow economic growth, but believes the economy should rebound by the end of the year. Her comments suggest the Fed will raise rates for a third time this year by December. Well, humans and machines could be merging within 20 years with artificially intelligent nanodevices injected into people to repair and improve muscles, cells, and bones. That's the forecast from a senior inventor at IBM. According to the London Telegraph, the inventor believes the super tiny devices would be injected into human bodies and allow people to control things around them. And Terry, that's things in their homes simply by thought or gesture.
And so it begins. The question is, of course, where does that end and where is it taking us? Thank you, John. Well, still ahead, the organization that's launching a counterattack against an enemy that has claimed the lives of our veterans.
Warriors come to this place because they're looking for hope. This is where healing is.
Zone for Operation Restored Warrior after this. This is a startling statistic. It's been estimated that a military veteran commits suicide each hour of every day. But one organization hopes to change that by helping vets fight their way back to restoration. Mark Martin brings us that story.
Veterans fighting overseas not only suffer physically, but emotionally as well. Hidden battle scars that make life difficult back home. That's where Operation Restored Warrior comes in. To find it, CBN News traveled to the heart of Colorado. With its wide open spaces and large horse corral, the Four Eagle Ranch resembles something out of the Old West. But take a closer look and you'll see much more. Organizers of Operation Restored Warrior say it's a location where healing takes place. While the program welcomes all faiths, its core Christian ministry is the 5-day program called the Drop Zone.
Like a drop zone is a place in enemy territory where you go take that ground. And very often in kind of Christian environments, we refer to things as retreats. I'm going to go to a retreat. And that just didn't sit well with us as professional military men. It's like, well, why are we retreating? How about if we go gain ground? So we specifically call coming to a drop zone a counterattack. And that appeals to warriors.
That counterattack is threefold: rescue, rebuild, and restore.
Warriors come to this place because they're looking for hope. And often the enemy has just beat them down. But this is the place where they know there's some hope. And then when they get here, what they find out is that this is where healing is. And that hope and healing is here because Jesus is here.
The intensive program targets areas of the heart that need healing. ORW leaders hold to the belief psychology reveals Jesus heals, and say it's been proven hundreds of times. For participants like Navy veteran Paul Williams, the program can be a literal lifesaver.
July 2nd of this year, I had written a note, and I was ready to go. And it just didn't happen. You know, I went back to my truck to go get the gun, and it wasn't there. So I just started praising Jesus with my praise and worship music and said, you know what, I need to give this ORW, Operation Restored Warrior, a really good shot.
And that decision led to victory.
I was able to open up to Paul, the founder of ORW, about all the trash that I've been carrying. And it felt so good to finally just let it out, you know. And I can't thank this organization enough. I mean, I came here fighting for my life. And I'm gonna walk away a champion. So, I love them a lot, and I'm super thankful for it.
Former atheist Paul Lavelle started ORW 9 years ago.
Around 2008, I felt like Jesus just put in my heart that he had gifted me my whole life to rescue people. And I felt like I had a unique gift of healing as well. But I had no idea it had to do with anything spiritual. And about 2008, I just felt this nudge that I had to do something. ORW, our focus is to heal. And we bring Jesus into that healing process.
Army veteran Braxton Dunbar dealt with many things, including suicidal thoughts before coming to ORW.
I was definitely a broken man. Had a lot of depression and anxiety, a lot of anger, a whole lot of anger, and just felt lost. Really, just didn't know where my place was. Didn't know how to find my place either.
Dunbar accepted Christ during the drop zone and decided to get baptized.
The same individual that prayed with me, Jordan, kind of came to me and said, you know, you accepted him yesterday and you verbally accepted him into your life. Would you want to show the action of it? And there was no question at all. I said, absolutely, I'd love to.
Retired Air Force Chaplain Steve Frick also received healing through the program.
ORW doesn't just help, they heal. And that's a little hard to hear when you first get here, but I'm telling you, it's true.
In addition to powerful sessions building up the faith of the men, the drop zone also allows time for recreational activities like fly fishing. What can they learn from this? Lavelle says it nourishes the soul, among other things.
The reason we do the activities is because it's part of a spiritual longing for a man to have adventure in his life. It's one of the core desires of a man. And so as part of this restoration process, we want to remind them that there is adventure out there.
Retired Command Sergeant Major Chris Fields is the drop zone lead facilitator. He too once contemplated taking his life and also lost fellow service members to suicide. Fields understands the urgency of going through this program before it's too late.
Don't wait another moment to reach out and to ask for help. I used to think that I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I ate barbed wire in the morning, and you can surmise what I did in the afternoon. But when I reached out for help, I'm stronger than I ever was. And it just takes one moment to say, okay, let me see what this is all about. And then let Jesus take it from there.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Walcott, Colorado.
These are warriors who've given their all and come home and are trying to figure out how to fit back into everyday life. And it's serious. In this last year alone, I've come to know of at least 3 former military people who have taken their lives because of PTSD. I want you to know, if you're a part of CBN, our Helping the Homefront is supporting this organization in every way, and we strongly believe in what they're doing. Just want to say thank you to them for what they make possible. Well, we want to show you how CBN is helping more of our nation's heroes. Meet Patrick. He's an infantry soldier and newly married to his wife, Christina. Living on a sergeant's salary isn't easy, and that's why CBN's Helping the Homefront gave this couple a much-needed hand up.
Newlyweds Patrick and Christina didn't have much time to settle into married life. Patrick is an infantry soldier and was scheduled to leave for 6 months, just 3 weeks after the wedding.
I'm very proud of him. It takes a brave person to do what he does. And it's scary that he's willing to sacrifice for the country that he loves.
Both of them say what really sees them through is prayer.
When I'm deployed, I pray all the time. I pray that she's safe. I pray that he keeps me safe as well. And I've found that he has been there several times.
God plays a big part in my life and in our relationship and keeping me strong. He keeps me calm and he keeps me going.
They also pray for their finances. With Patrick on a sergeant's salary and Christina still in school working only part-time, they knew they wouldn't have much. It didn't help that Patrick's truck needed repairs and they didn't have money to fix it. The newlyweds couldn't even afford to buy furniture for their first apartment together.
If I can't get the household set up before I leave, I don't want her sitting on the floor. I want her to be set up. I want her to not have any issues to worry about except school and her job when I'm gone.
The couple had attended premarital counseling with ministry leaders Donnie and Michelle Bowen. The Bowens knew about their financial stress and contacted CBN's Helping the Homefront. We started planning. Donnie and Michelle invited the newlyweds to their home and started by telling them CBN would fix Patrick's truck.
That's great.
Yeah, it kind of helps, huh?
Yeah, it's come basically fix everything.
And there was more.
Helping the Homefront is also wanting to take you to Ashley Furniture and bless you all with some furniture. So as a newlywed couple going into a deployment, you can maybe put that money into savings.
You got yourself a home.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
After arranging to fix the truck, they went to Ashley Home Furniture to pick out what they needed. Ashley's was happy to give CBN a big discount. The newlyweds settled into their new home before Patrick left.
I'm very much grateful to CBN for doing this for the families that have to go through things like this. It's a wonderful blessing, and I hope that they continue to do it.
Thank you, CBN partners. You are the ones who are supporting all of the work that we do with veterans who are returning home and trying to process back into life after trauma, as well as those who are still currently serving in the military through our Helping the Homefront program. How do you become a 700 Club member? Well, you go to your phone, you call a toll-free number, and you just say, I want to join the 700 Club. That's a commitment of just 65 cents a day, $20 a month, which doesn't seem like much. But when you and I link arms together, we can make a huge difference in the lives of people who are in need, who are struggling, who need a hand up. I'd love for you to be a part of that. If you haven't joined us yet, would you get up and go to your phone right now and do that? Our number is toll-free. It's 1-800-700-7000, easy to remember. You can also join with us by logging on to cbn.com. And by the way, when you do, our way of saying thank you to you for caring about the needs of others and being willing to be a part of making a difference is to send you Pat's latest DVD. It's called Ask Anything. This answers probing life questions with the Word of God, and we think it'll be a blessing to you. We need to all be in the Word, living by the Word, being defined by the Word. So get this now, and at the same time, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing you're making a huge difference in the lives of others. Well, coming up, one couple struggle with infertility.
We were thinking, this isn't going to happen for us. We're just fools.
I struggled with questioning God's goodness in that time because I just felt like it was so mean.
See the beautiful ending to their story that went more than 20 years in the making. That's next. Thank you all, CBN partners. We're able to be there in this year of natural disasters that has hit our country in such devastating ways because of your kindness, your compassion, and your generosity. We say thank you. Well, our next story comes from the team at Moving Works, and it's been seen by more than 50 million people online. It's no surprise. It starts with a young boy who liked to spend time with God, and it ends with a promise that came true more than 20 years later. Take a look.
I grew up on my parents' 100-acre property, and I refused to stay inside. I loved being in nature. I would just go out there by myself, and I'd have all this time, and I would be talking to God, and we'd have this conversation, and I didn't know that that was strange or unusual. I would just pray to him, and then sometimes he would say something to me and speak to me. I was about 10 or 12 years old. Middle of the day, God gives me a very vivid picture of a little kid, and I'm holding her, swinging around in my parents' yard, and she's just laughing like crazy. In the picture that I had in my mind, she had dark skin and dark eyes, and God said, "This is gonna be your daughter, and her name is gonna be Chloe."
Walt and I grew up together. I think he moved to town the year I was born, so we've known each other my whole life. When I was 10, we moved right across the pasture from him, so we grew up together. My whole life, I was like, I think Walt Manus is amazing, and I always thought when I grow up, I want to find someone just like him, who was in my age group. I went to university about 30 minutes from where he was living, and when I went, he just kind of came in and helped get me settled and helped introduce me to a church. And so we just started spending more and more time together, and we were sitting in his car just talking, and we had this conversation about what our dreams and our hopes were for the future. And I said that I felt like God had just made me to be a mom. That's what I wanted. More than anything, I wanted to be a mother. And I said that I had actually a name picked out already that I wanted to name my daughter, and he said, "I do too," which I thought was weird because, I didn't think guys did that.
And I was like, "Well, what's the name?" And she said, "Chloe."
And he's like, "You've got to be kidding me."
You won't believe this. God gave me, when I was 12, that name, Chloe.
So he's telling me this story, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. First of all, I don't have a lot of experience with God speaking to me like that. In the picture, Chloe always had olive skin, so he always thought he would marry a woman with olive skin.
She can't have a brown-eyed child. I didn't know what to do with it.
I think we both knew pretty early on that we were gonna get married. It just, I don't know. The best way I can describe it is that Walt felt like home to me. From the very beginning, I felt like, yeah, this is where I belong with this guy. When we first got married, we decided we wanted to wait a little while to have children. We ended up traveling, doing some work with some different missions agencies. We thought it was just gonna happen immediately, and so we were like, yeah, let's start our family, let's have children. And, months turned into years, and pretty soon we were 4 years into trying and still nothing.
I had always clung to this promise that God had given me about the daughter, so I didn't know when it was gonna happen, but it was starting to get hard to wait.
It was really hard. It was really, I don't know, I think I struggled with questioning God's goodness in that time, because I just felt like it was so mean, such a mean thing to do. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so there was a probably 4.5-year period that I would say was really, really hard on us individually, on us in our marriage, and also the way we were relating with God. Especially for me, I felt like, is God good even when he's not doing things that I would define as good?
All of her friends were having kids, and she had to just wait and put on this cheesy smile, this fake smile, and say, "We're happy for you." And every time that we would hear about someone getting pregnant, we would just be devastated because we were thinking, this isn't gonna happen for us. We're just fools. We're fools who want kids, and it's never gonna happen.
There were tons of people praying for us and with us, people that we didn't even know. People would come to us and say, "Oh, this Bible study group I'm a part of is praying for you guys, is praying for this situation." And I don't know, that was a really special thing to get to feel like the body of Christ on a larger scale, standing with you through something.
Annie's like, "Well, maybe we're supposed to adopt," and I was adamantly against it.
How are you feeling about adoption?
Yeah, I don't want to speak about adoption. I had this thought of I don't want, I called it a Band-Aid baby. We are struggling, we are hurting, and I didn't want just a fix. I didn't want just some kid. I wanted the kid that we were supposed to have, And God just he progressed me from like being adamantly against adoption to be like, you know, I just want the kid that God wants. Maybe it's not supposed to come through biological means. Maybe it's supposed to be through adoption. So what do you think?
I think that I'm very excited to adopt, but waiting will be hard. I remember one night we were at Walt's sister's house and I was checking my email and there was an email that came in and it said, "It's a girl." I clicked on it and I realized it was from the adoption agency and they said, "We just wanted to let you know that a birth mother has chosen you guys and yeah, you're gonna be parents." And I was like, I just sat there looking at the email like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
Annie gets this email, she's super excited and I'm just like, I'm gonna wait and see.
She'll be born in late February or early March.
Coming close.
And we're working on her name right now.
We're working on it. The name Chloe is completely off the table. We've abandoned it.
We had decided, oh, that was just a fluke thing. That was a coincidence that we both liked that name, you know. That was nothing. And so we had even talked about a different name. And the social worker working with us, she says, okay, well, the birth mother would like to meet you before she has the baby. And we were like, yes, we want to meet her. Sounds great. And so we took a trip up to Wichita.
Today's the big day, huh?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
We're going to meet Alice for the first time.
You nervous?
Oh, yeah. A little bit. We went to the house where she was living and we knocked on the door and...
She opens the door and it looks like a grown-up version of this little girl in my head that was from the past. And I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world, you know? And so in a second, in my head, the name was back on the table.
We went up to this room and sat and talked for, I don't know, 3 hours or so.
The social worker says, now let's talk about a name. Have you thought of a name?
She said, yeah, well, ever since I got pregnant, even before I knew it was a girl, I've been calling this baby Chloe.
We were just floored.
And both Walt and I mean, I don't even remember what we did exactly. I just know that I was ugly crying.
We were weeping and she was like, oh, you hate the name. And we're like, oh my goodness, no, we love the name. God has spoken, he's told us this name.
It just dawned on me before I ever even knew you guys existed or anything. Just was like, I want to name, you know, this little girl Chloe, and I didn't know if you guys would like it or stick with it or anything like that. I just kind of figured maybe you'd have something else, but so that's why, like, when I threw it out there, I was just kind of like, I've been calling her Chloe. And then you guys, oh, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, it's my name.
All those doubts about having the Band-Aid baby were just completely out of the window, and it felt like I just had full body shivers. It was like the Holy Spirit was just right there.
This is so much a God thing that's going on right now. You've been planned for a long time. Before you were even conceived, we knew your name. And I think we know what you're gonna look like. I don't know, but we'll see. I love you. We look forward to seeing you.
This surreal presence of God was just all around us, and I felt him saying to me, see how much I love you? Do you see this? Like, do you see what I've done? Like, I've been writing this story. You had no idea. I've been writing this story for years, since Walt was a kid.
Day of.
Yeah.
What were you about to do?
Go to the hospital. I can't find your toothbrush holder.
Oh no, are you nervous?
A little bit. Yeah, I was just crazy nervous that morning. Like, I remember going to the hospital and then all of a sudden it was happening. All of a sudden the doctor came in and was like, okay, she's ready and you're gonna have a baby now. And I don't know, and there was just all this movement and bustling around, and then Chloe was there. Like, I was looking at this baby, my baby. I was just looking at her all of a sudden, like she wasn't there and then she was there.
Big girl, how you doing, Annie?
I'm good, I'm really good.
Yeah.
So many years of anticipating her as a child. She's here, you know? She's been a part of my life for so long and she's finally here.
I remember just holding her and looking at her face and being like, I'm your mom, I'm your mom. And I just sounded so weird to say those words.
There was no mistake. I am the father of this child, just like God had always planned it to be. And I'm completely owning it, like on cloud nine, just amazed at what God has done.
it was like he was whispering to me in that moment, like, I've been here this whole time. And you didn't know, but I've been here this whole time. I've been walking this thing with you. And I was just saying, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. I've got something good. I've got something good up ahead.
It's a constant struggle to just sit in his sovereignty. And when everything is falling apart in your mind, just to wait.
And there were so many people that got to celebrate with us. I can't even count the number of people who came and said that that they had prayed for us, or that they had waited for this baby with us, or that our story had somehow spoken to them. I don't know, it was just such a special time of seeing, like, this wasn't just about me and Walt and this baby and our birth mother. It was about, like, all these people that God wanted to touch and encourage and bless through this story.
He just doesn't leave anything to chance. It's not random, and it's amazing. It's a miracle, you know. It only speaks of God. People can say, it's just a coincidence, you know. You can't convince me that.
I think God is incredible. I think it's incredible the way that he flung the stars into space, and that same God, the same God who keeps the world from falling apart, he loves me. He loves me. With or without us ever having a child, that's what he's taught me through this. Like, he loves me, and I can be so secure in that love. And to be able to trust that and to rest in that, I mean, it's the greatest gift.
This is Walt and Annie and Chloe's story, but in a very real sense, it's all of our stories, isn't it? You know, God knows your name. I don't know what you're waiting for in your life. And then there's always the question of, is God good when his plan doesn't measure up to mine? The Bible says God's good all the time, and this is what it also says. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall rise up on wings like eagles. They'll walk and not be weary. They'll run and not faint. Wait on the Lord. You know, another word, I think, for faith is trust. It's trusting that he is good, that the good he promises to those who love him and are called according to his purposes are true, are real, are available. God knows your name, just like he knew Chloe's name, and just like he knew Walt and Annie's name. We'd like to thank our friends at the Christian filmmaking ministry, Moving Works, for this story. You can watch the full version of Chloe and other short films like this for free at their website. It's movingworks.org. Well, still ahead, she was featured on Saturday Night Live for 6 seasons, but she's more than just an actress. She's also a survivor. Victoria Jackson tells us about her cancer scare when we come back.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. The death toll is still rising in Somalia after a weekend truck bombing in Mogadishu. More than 300 people were killed and another 300 were seriously hurt Saturday. It was the most powerful bomb blast ever witnessed in Somalia's capital. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack, but the Somali government is blaming al-Shabaab, an Islamic extremist group linked to al-Qaeda. Well, CBN's Orphans Promise is helping to serve Mongolian children with special needs. These children are treated like outcasts as they are denied proper care and medical attention and therapy. Parents of special needs children often are forced to leave their careers to care for their kids. The end result is more hardship, poverty, and desperate living conditions. But Orphans Promise partnered with Mongolian Asia Reach Ministries through a group called Reaching the Light, a development center that's a source of hope for these families, where trained doctors and therapists offer first-class care and rehabilitation services to families at no cost. The children are now leading healthier and happier lives. Well, you can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by visiting cbn.com/international. Terry will be back with more of today's 700 Club right after this.
On a reunion show for Saturday Night Live, Victoria Jackson had a memorable one-liner. She joked, I was just wondering, whatever happened to me? Well, that little zinger hit close to home, but now the outspoken comedian says she no longer wants to be silent.
Victoria Jackson delighted audiences during her 6-year reign on NBC's Saturday Night Live. She took a 23-year hiatus from showbiz, then started a stand-up comedy act at Zanies in Nashville in 2015. But a nagging cough forced Victoria to see a doctor. Test results showed she had stage 3 breast cancer. In her book, Lavender Hair, Victoria uses her trademark humor to share stories of her bout with the cancer monster, relays a message of hope for others from the darkest season of her life.
Well, Victoria Jackson is here with more, and we welcome you back to the 700 Club. It's great to have you here. You know, I think when people are diagnosed with cancer, I want to say you write so poignantly about it. There's a lot of humor in your book, Lavender Hair, but you talk about all the things that lots of people feel in their hearts but don't ever express to someone, like wondering when you're diagnosed, what did I do to cause this? That's pretty common, isn't it?
I guess so. I mean, you're like, you know, was it sugar, alcohol? The internet says that caused it. Was it stress? Well, I went through a whole list of, you think of everything that you've ever done since you were born.
Yeah, exactly. And then comes the moment, I think this is always maybe the hardest part of it. Well, it's all hard. Maybe one of the hardest parts of it is having to decide what medical people leave up to you as a treatment decision when, you know, there are so many pros and cons, and friends and relatives are telling you, take the chemo, don't take the chemo, do the radiation, don't do the radiation. The doctor's telling you one thing, you go online and there are 50 million other suggestions. How did you deal with that?
Well,
here, we can just put that straight up here. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I went into my prayer closet, which, sorry, I'm looking in the mirror. I didn't know what to wear, so
You look great.
I'm a little distracted. Whatever. Finny. Well, when I saw the movie War Room,
yes.
I was inspired to make my closet into a prayer room, and I have little Post-its on the wall, and now there's a big thing that says cancer on the wall and Sharpie. But yeah, I went in there, I was like, God, I don't know what to do. I mean, I asked my oncologist, what can I not do so I don't get it again?
Yes.
And he said, that's the $1 million question. They don't know yet what causes it. And half of my friends drank and smoked, half of them didn't. And they all have breast cancer, you know. It's...
How do you put that all together?
Yeah, so I went in there, I was like, Lord, half of my friends are saying do chemo, and half of them are saying don't do chemo, and they all have reasons, and they all love you, and so I kind of asked him for a sign, and the next day I walked into a restaurant, and my friend Mandy was kind of shaved her head in honor of Joey Feek, her friend who was dying of cancer right when I was diagnosed. Because the Lord, sometimes he doesn't heal people.
Exactly.
You know, it's up to him. And the Bible verse, for me to live is Christ, to die is gain.
Yeah.
That kept coming into my heart, into my life. You know, it's a win-win if you're a believer. So, and I wanted to live that verse, not just know it by heart, or I wanted to live it. Like, I should be happy if I'm going to see the Lord this year. But anyway, so
you ran into your friend at the coffee shop, and it was a God word. It was kind of like the story we just saw, where God sent a word at the moment that you needed it.
Yeah, exactly. It was the next day. After I asked him for a sign, I run into Mandy. Her head is shaved. I said, Mandy, I have cancer. And she goes, what? Get chemo.
Really?
And I said, that's kind of weird that you did that, because I just asked God for a sign. Why did you say that to me? And so she said, because Joey didn't get it, and she's
not here anymore.
Because she had a new baby and wanted to breastfeed, and but you know, it's hard to know in life big decisions, and so we always have to ask God and kind of.
Well, and along the way, you have all these other things that are happening, like hair loss, which is no fun for anybody. I mean, I love the fact that you had a Raggedy Ann wig.
Well,
it was your favorite.
Pippi Pippi Longstocking. I like that one,
I like Pippi, too.
I wore that one to the doctor one time. Oh, there's my bald head. That's Christine, my favorite nurse. And, yeah, I couldn't find anything that fit my personality, like the scarf thing. I look like a gypsy fortune teller, and people kept coming up to me and showing me their palm. It was like,
no.
If you tell them they're living a long time, you get a bigger tip. But anyway, so I felt the most comfortable in this grayish lavender wig. And that's one reason I named the book that. The other reason is because I wrote a love song to my husband called Lavender Hair during the cancer.
You're also very candid about your relationship with your husband and the things that swing us in life emotionally one way and then the other. I think that's one of the things that's so endearing about your book, Lavender Hair, is it's just so real. Was it hard for you to decide, what do I put in here? What do I say? What don't I say?
Yes, and my family thinks I was too, what was the word you used?
Real.
Yeah, there's another, candid?
Candid, yeah.
My family thinks I was way too candid. And, but my publisher thought it was okay. And when I was in English class, they told us to use details. They said, don't just write in generalizations, use details.
Yeah.
So I did, maybe too many details. So I told my husband, let's write a book after this one, How I Saved My Marriage, How God Saved Our Marriage.
We made it.
Yeah, and you can express how you felt about the detail, whatever. But the thing is, we're still married, and one day at a time.
Yeah.
Marriage is hard, and especially when you go through breast cancer. My oncologist said half the marriages don't make it through. And so
it's all one day at a time, isn't it? Yeah. You know, the other thing that struck me so much with your book, because you are a very funny person, you just see life in a way that makes it more palatable for the rest of us. But you share that in such a great way, and you have the reader laughing 1 minute, and then you drop in a powerful scripture that just kind of makes you go, whoa. Whoa, yes.
Well, it's like we have all these weaknesses and sins, and we have jokes, but the Bible is like the rock. Jesus is the rock, but like His Word.
Yeah.
Like Jesus is the Word, right? In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word just makes everything calm down. It puts everything into perspective.
It does. Yeah. You brought your ukulele with you, and it wouldn't be you without it.
No,
and God has given you songs in the midst of all of this, right?
Yes, because when I was bald and weak and laying in bed, I had to express myself, my emotions somehow. So
give us a little piece of that, will you?
Oh, well, this was the song I wrote to my husband, because when my hair grew back in, it was gray. I was like, gray. And my friend Judy said, yeah, I was like, I thought I was blonde. But so she said, your hair isn't gray, it looks lavender. Because you know that's the new style with the young girls, that kind of. And my husband, out of the corner of my eye, I saw him go, yeah, it looks lavender, it looks lavender. And I thought, that is so cute that he's been trying to make me feel pretty. Yeah. And so I wrote this to him. He sees me as softig, not heavy. He hears me as wise and not dull. He thinks that I'm super terrific when others think nothing at all. He sees me as funny, not silly, and graceful as Fred Astaire. And he doesn't notice the gray. He said I have lavender hair.
That's so great.
And then there's more.
Yes, it's so great. What do you want the takeaway for women who are experiencing what you did when they read Lavender Hair? It's not just for women with breast cancer. There's truth in here for all of us. What do you want us to take away from your book?
I want them to take away Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to them that love God, to those who are the called according to His purpose. I memorized it, King James Version. And for me to live is Christ, to die is gain. And I want them to know that if they're a believer, it's a win-win no matter what happens, and that's why Christians are happy.
Yeah. It's all about trusting him. And the book is wonderful. Thank you
so
much. Really. There's even more to Victoria's story. We are skimming the surface, but you can learn about it in her new book. It's called Lavender Hair, 21 Devotions for Women with Breast Cancer. But I can assure you, I took away some great thoughts and truths as well. So get your copy. We're going to be back to pray for you and your needs after this. Don't go away. Thank you. I want to strengthen your faith with a couple of wonderful praise reports. Doris lives in Liberty, Mississippi. She received a call that her nephew Brad had suffered a serious head injury. Tree limb had fallen on his head. He had massive bleeding in his brain. She called the CBN Prayer Center for help. Doctors said they'd have to operate. Surgery, however, was never needed. Brad was healed. When Brad had a follow-up MRI, his doctor was amazed and he said, "I just knew I was going to have to operate on you, but I didn't." And then Rick, who lives in Burlington, Wisconsin, was diagnosed with atrial fibrillation and prescribed medication. One day he was watching this program and he heard Pat give a word of knowledge. Pat said, atrial fibrillation is being healed by the power of God right now. Rick was amazed that it was exactly what he had, and immediately he felt healed. He's had no heart problems since. He's not taking any more medication and doesn't need it. We want to pray right now. Let's join our hearts together as one before the God we serve and ask him to move with whatever your needs might be. Father, what wonderful stories we've been able to watch today as we've heard again the fact that you're writing our story. You're in our yesterday, you're in our now, and you're already in our tomorrow. That you know our name, you have it inscribed on the palm of your hand, that there's not a thought we have, not a place we go, not a thing that we do that you don't see and know. We bring to you today, God, our needs, our physical needs, those who are sick, those who are questioning treatment options, those who are fearful of death, God. Pray for those who are struggling in their relationships or with addictions. Jesus, would you come and redeem it all for the sake of your kingdom? And for the lives and the souls of your people, do something miraculous today that we might be closer to you and know more about your power. In Jesus' name. Thank you for joining us. We leave you with this word from 1 Corinthians, but thanks be to God, he gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. God bless you.